What is this? Trying to get recruited to the Texas Civil War?
My dad, like, he wanted me to like come down here just like check it out because I heard like we're headed for like a civil war, so that's why.
You fucking with me? You heard that? Where'd you hear that?
On TikTok.
All right.
Do you not know what's going down at the border?
No, I mean I know what's going on down at the border.
I want to like help my state, the country now. I mean, we're headed towards like independence, right? Like Abbott's gonna be the new president, so like.
Yeah, well, yeah, you guys are talking about separating from the union.
Oh, we're our own country now, I thought.
There's two different armies. You have the state largest army is the federal army.
Yeah, I'm not trying to fight for the government. I'm trying to fight for my new government, Texas.
I got you. Like, I'm not sitting here arguing that. I'm just telling you it's two different.
That's awesome. What makes you say that a person wants a home? Are you going to criminalize unhoused people? Yes. If you have the opportunity to live inside of a house and you refuse to do so, you should literally go to a mental institution. I do agree with that, by the way. Yes, if you're one of those like trustafarian, boho chic motherfuckers out there, yes, I will come and personally apprehend you. Call me the motherfucking Punisher. I am literally the fucking red beret guardian angel for those dumb motherfuckers who are like, no, I voluntarily want to fucking actually live on the sidewalk. Okay? Yes, you do not know. I will make Stalin look like a fucking anarchist, okay? If you are the type of motherfucker who's like, hey, guess what? I want to live on the sidewalk voluntarily. Yeah, I'm putting you in fucking jail, okay? You're going to jail. Abolish prisons except for that guy. Do you understand? Straight up. Straight the fuck up, dude. First, I'm put your ass in a shower, okay? One, you're getting a haircut because I know I can smell your hair from here, okay? You're getting a haircut and you're taking a shower, and then you are forcibly living inside of permanent shelter, which is called prison, okay? This guy said, what about people who are voluntarily living outside? Like, that's insane. Okay? Okay, man. Yeah, that's called being crazy and needing, like, mental health. Do you understand? People voluntarily live outside because shelters are awful and violent, okay? And they can't bring their things or their pets to the shelters. Most people, almost every single person, is not voluntarily homeless. That is like an idiotic right-wing fantasy that like, yeah, no, these guys actually fucking want to be homeless. Like, shut the fuck up. Yeah. Fucking campers and backpackers to the gulag. Yes. If you are outside and living in a tent, I'm putting you in jail. Do you understand? Yeah. Yeah. They associate all homeless people with the crust punk trustafarians. That's how they square that circle. I guess so. That's so funny. That's so funny to be like, hey, I know there's like 250,000 almost homeless people in this country. I don't know what the actual number is. It might be even more than that. Okay. And like 99.999% of all of those people are in those more than that, almost 1 million. Okay. 500,000 homeless people, more than 500,000 homeless people in this country. Almost every single one is literally there due to systemic violence, like structural violence of poverty, the housing market being like absolutely unimaginably unaffordable, that like basically pushes them into further depths of insanity and crime and all this stuff, right? But hey, guess what, dude? There's like 11 trustafarians out there. How are we going to deal with that? It's giving, we have to give the death penalty. We have to keep the death penalty because of the one like omega rapist. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, dude, sometimes there are like super rapists out there, you know? So we just got to keep the death penalty, or we have to put, you know, low level offenders in perma jail because serial killers exist. You have no idea. Roof fell in. We report it, and they wouldn't renew our lease. Currently in a motel. Yeah. There are children of millionaires pretending to be homeless. Are you suggesting we help them? Yeah. Like, yeah, we help them by putting them in jail. If you're a YouTuber that does like, oh, I tried being homeless for a day, jail. If you're like a trust fund kid, okay, and you're like, oh no, you don't understand, I like living off the land, and by the land I mean like the pavement, okay, I like living in this tent, and you can't take that away from me, jail. If you're just like regular old homeless and you lived out of your car for a year, and until you couldn't even make those payments anymore, even though you had a job the entire fucking time, and now nobody wants to let you couch surf anymore, and you're just cooked. You can't go to the shelter because you have a bunch of stuff and the shelter won't take it. And last time you went to the shelter, you were assaulted or had your stuff stolen. Then you deserve a house, not jail. Okay? I'm a tanky in that direction. I'm vicious. But yeah, that's my approach to this subject.
Dad would kill me if I fought for the Biden army, you know? So, like, I'm not trying to do that.
Army, it's my army. It's his army and his army and her army and his army. Biden's army. Pull out your phone. All of our numbers.
Oh, your numbers?
Yeah.
I mean, I probably won't be calling you guys. But
I know.
I'm not trying to do that.
Dude, recruiters are so funny. They are the most predatory motherfuckers out there. They are so funny. He does not care. He knows this kid's like messing around, but he's like, I'll still take it.
It's my army. It's his army and his army and her army and his army. Biden's army. Pull out your phone. All of our numbers.
Oh, your numbers?
Yeah.
I mean, I probably won't be calling you guys. But
I know.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
I
no problem.
appreciate you. Hey, I hope I don't have to shoot you, man. All right? Because you'll be fine for the government. I'll be fine for Texas.
This is awesome. Would the people who sell their homes to become van people be on the same level? Ooh, that's a good one. Jail for those guys too, because I think they're annoying. Yeah, if you do van life, if you sell your house, I know someone actually that did that. He's a really nice guy, but still, jail for you. Okay, jail. No more van life. Come on, man. You know I'm right. You know I'm right. In your heart of hearts, think about what I'm saying, really internalize what I'm saying, and recognize that I'm 100% right. It would be a better society. Like, why are you living in a van? What are you hiding? Are only people who are the only type of van life that is like appropriate is if you're literally like a serial killer or like a Bonnie and Clyde situation where you're like a bank robber, you're a serial bank robber, or like a con man, and you just have to go from like locality to locality to do new tricks because they figured out your game. Okay? It's ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous. If you're just like a regular accountant working from home, your home should not be on wheels. I'm sending you to fucking jail. Okay? Are you trying to be murdered in a gruesome way inside of a fucking national inside of a national park? Because that's what happens. I feel like all the van life people, they get just like ruthlessly executed in a national park that's like somehow in the jurisdiction of 3 different states. So technically, it's not a area that exists under like American jurisdiction at all. So they will never find your body and they'll never prosecute your killers. You know what I mean? Don't do that. Don't be a van lifer. You will get murdered in the most gruesome way, and then no one will care about it. There will be no criminal prosecution. What time is ad gaming? 35-year-old recruiter plankton ass. No, I'm not doing ad gaming today. I'll probably do it later this week. Most murders on Parkland are gang executions. Don't ask me how I know. Hassan got that white woman podcast brain rot. Yeah, it's called being realistic, okay? A couple chatters are acting obtuse. You're obviously not talking about nomadic people. What? What do you mean nomadic people? Like, are you talking about like me? Like like Romani people? That's so funny. Yeah, no, I'm not talking about Romani people. Okay. Well, I guess I did say people in vans that go from city to city because they're running like little schemes. Oh, Jesus. No. That's not that's not what I No, there's an exception for Romani people because like first of all, I didn't even know that there were Romani people in America, okay? I thought that was like only European server racism, you know what I mean? I thought that was like that racism is only unlocked in the Euro servers. Like they don't have that in America. They don't know what the fuck that is. They look at Romani people, they're like, what is that? Like, are you a Mexican? What kind of Mexican are you? But carnies get a pass too? Exactly. No. That's what I mean. That's like in the future utopia, in the future United Socialist States of America, okay? In that utopian future, like that is a government offered position. I believe that carnies and Roma people can have like special designated government permission to run little like tricks and schemes and go from city to city. Everyone else that doesn't have the proper protocol, if they don't have the proper paperwork, I'm sending you to jail, okay? You need to be a government carny, and you can only be a government sanctioned protected people's Roma people. Look at you betraying your Turkic nomadic roots. That's why I was laughing. Anyway, all this contraband police power went to your head. True. But they have to go back to caravans with horses, old school style. That'd be sick. If I come up to the gates and it's you who asked me for my papers, yes. I feel like I'm stupid for getting sensitive. My dad has to live in his camper because the bank took his house when his siblings passed. Good to know he'll die gruesomely, though. Yes, you are getting incredibly sensitive. This is what is known as a joke. I am joking. Okay? I'm going to spell it out. I'm joking. Okay? This is called a joke. Also, the entire premise, like the serious side of this joke, is that I'm sure your dad would rather live in a home. Your cancer father would rather live in a home and not have the bank fucking take the home away from him. That was the point I was making originally. Like, that's the serious side of it. And then the joking side of it, spiraled into me making fun of van life influencers. Don't tell the chatter. People also sometimes have to tell you they're joking. Yeah, the difference is I'm a human being that you can watch on camera so I can emote. I'm reading 3,000 fucking lines a minute from anonymous accounts that have no way of emoting whether they're joking or not. So yeah, for me to be able to pick up on whether you're joking or not is a little bit different than me, a human being that you have, been subscribed to, that you've avoided the ads on for like 36 months, who you have developed a better understanding of his worldview and politics on, is going to be, like, I hope it's going to be easier for you versus me looking at a random chat. You know what I mean? I hope you understand. Yeah, did you like that? That was such a fucking solid ad break segue. You didn't even hear it. You didn't even see it. But at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with the Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. Okay? That's right. Weak sauce 1 out of 10. Get the fuck out of here. Okay, some of you guys are real Nazis on this, okay? Here's a 3-minute ad break now. Half of your chat is autistic. You should know we can't tell sarcasm and jokes very easily. Yeah, that's why I do like a shit ton of like explaining joke moments and things of that nature. All right, let's get started on the fake Pakistani elections.
So far, the preliminary results have Imran Khan's party, I think,
I
at
gotta
this
pee.
point, with leading in 136 districts. That's 3 times the next closest one. You're now seeing reports in Pakistan of 2 separate things. One, the army is in the streets, the police are in the streets, they're surrounding polling stations, and you're seeing a lot of reports and videos of efforts to change the votes. They're kicking election officials out. There's a lot of concern that that number 136 by tomorrow morning in Pakistan could be pushed down lower. Separately, you're seeing also surface in Pakistan an attempt by the kind of military-connected officials to take the independents who are associated with PTI and pressure them to join other parties. So even though Imran Khan's party might win a majority, after torture and bribery, you could have a different government take power. So you've, from the podium, stood up for free and fair elections. But free and fair elections are one thing, but if you torture your way to a majority after that, that doesn't quite live up to kind of the values that you were stating from there. So this seems like a pretty pivotal moment for
Look,
kind
Ryan.
of America and Pakistan relations.
Look,
So-
Ryan, the thing about preliminary results is that they are preliminary, and I am not going to get ahead of any official results, and so I'm not going to comment or speculate further on what a government could look like, what the makeup could be, or anything like that.
So you would
What
be
I will
okay
just,
if-
what
what
I
if
will
they-
just reiterate again is that we condemn all instances of election-related violence, even with some of the kinds that you are describing that took place in the weeks preceding.
Yeah, dude, you don't understand. It's just like different over there. Pakistan media has the excuse that it is directly controlled by the military. What on earth is the excuse of the New York Times? Okay. How did this happen, dude? As results begin to trickle in Thursday evening, the party of former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, the military's preferred party of the moment, was still expected to win, but it did not look like it would pull off the easy victory that it was widely predicted. Parliamentary candidates allied with another former Prime Minister, Imran Khan, were neck and neck with Mr. Sharif's party in many races in Punjab, the country's most populous province and political heartland. Dude, it's just like, this is precisely, for the record, this is precisely why I say that when America talks about like democracy, liberal values, rule-based international order, all of that is a lie. Okay? Like our enemies, our political enemies, our foreign adversaries have better elections than this. And yes, I mean Venezuela. Okay? This is not a defense of Venezuela or Maduro, by the way. But having said that, even fucking Maduro has like third party officiators involved in his elections, whereas like the Pakistan one is almost analogous to the Venezuela situation, okay, with respect to jailing your political opposition, right? Whereas like America has nothing for it because they're an ally and because we don't want Imran Khan to be the prime minister any longer, and we want the military to continue controlling. I mean, and Imran Khan is like it's not like Imran Khan, by the way, deviates from the American perspective all that much. Hasanabi doctrine demonstrating again, why didn't the U.S. take a direct approach in this? Because, no, the U.S. did take a direct approach in this. Okay? This is the U.S.'s direct approach. Bro, there is no world in which, like them, hate them, doesn't matter, okay? Imran Khan definitely is one of those figures where it's like, it's the same thing that I've brought up with Erdogan, right? It's like, well, he's not corrupt, okay? But he's, I guess, somewhat less corrupt. And also, he's my corrupt, okay? He's my guy, right? I'm a Pakistani guy, and he is my guy. Whereas the other guy is going to also be corrupt, if not more corrupt. And then he's also not going to be my guy at all. He's going to be America's guy. So people, when they have that choice, they're always going to go with their guy that is not a direct puppet of the United States of America. Okay? And that is what's happening in this circumstance as well. Hasanabi is the reason why I'm happy I hate politics. Do you actually know all of this stuff? L ads, L corrupt the streamer. Do you actually know all of this stuff? Or are you just spewing what you think it is? I mean, is Imran Khan and his entire party arrested or not? Does the Pakistani military rule Pakistan or not? Is the Pakistani military directly controlled by the CIA or not? These are all questions you must ask yourself. And the answer is going to be yes to all of them. Okay? So why is the United States of America not taking a position that is similar to Venezuela in this circumstance? Okay? That's one of the takes that makes me know you understand the third world. We will always prefer our homegrown despots and the foreign placed ones. That's the one of the takes that makes me know you understand the world. Exactly. That's it. And a lot of Americans don't get it because they think like, why don't they want this guy that the New York Times is portraying as like, on board with the things that I like? And it's because that's a lie. They're lying. America's preferred candidates are not actually like, they don't actually have good politics, okay? They don't. It's just the media tells you that they do, so you don't have any other interest in like figuring out if that's true or not, or even getting a better understanding of what the people on the ground feel about the situation. That's the issue. Okay? And yes, this is still my opinion, by the way. This is like, I mean, I'm basing my opinion off of facts, but it's still my opinion. That seems to be what happened in the El Salvador election this week too. Dude is a bit of a wannabe dictator. Yes. I say formerly Palestinian Bukele is well, I would say he's more aligned with like State Department interests than you'd think. But he is profoundly popular, I guess, in El Salvador, but he is also a psychopath. Okay? He is literally a fucking psychopath. He's loved, you know, he definitely has he's definitely popular despite the fact that he despite the fact that he chose to change his country's currency to crypto and all this stuff. He did used to be a bit of a leftist, I guess, or people thought he was a leftist. I've written him off since the crypto shit, even though he is Palestinian, technically. Anyway, my partner and her whole family were born in El Salvador. He's done so much good for the country, but it's super sketchy the way he's getting things done. She's torn about supporting him or not. Yeah, it's I mean, he's the crypto bro who like does like dragnet arrests on every single person, but also at the same time, El Salvador is fucked. So I don't even know how you would deal with that situation at all. I'm Salvadoran. I can vouch everyone loves him. He's done the best job at making the country safe. I don't know what the crypto situation is. Haven't heard anything about that. Bro, how are you going to be Salvadorian and be like, and not know that your nation's currency is just like, is fucking a peg to the Bitcoin? That's crazy. But I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's just like, that's how Americans don't know a shit ton about what's going on in their country and they live here. You know what I mean? Anyway, he's, they use the USA dollar, I think, too. Nobody uses the local currency anyway, and everybody uses the dollar. Generally speaking, Arun Anal says, Indian Hasanabi says, generally speaking, my analysis of this is that the Pakistani military and the U.S. State Department align on a lot of issues, but it's not as though the Pakistani military takes 100% marching orders from the U.S. It's a bit more nuanced than that. It's a holdover from the Cold War when Pakistan aligned with the U.S. because India backed the USSR. I mean, I feel like the Pakistani military, one, runs the country, and two, definitely still is like aligned with America's interests and will do things that the American government wants them to do. Am I wrong on that? I don't know. It's kind of like Saudi Arabia, okay? Saudi Arabia has its own interests in the region, is a powerful ally, but and will do things from time to time that the United States goes, hey, Saudi Arabia, don't do that. That's kind of fucked up. Why did you chop an American journalist? That's like not chill, okay? But they still kind of do that when they want to, as long as broadly they are on board with everything else that the United States wants them to do. Salvador, my mom watches their news all the time, and she was showing me all proud of the massive prison they built and the president showing it off while I was watching it horrified. It's the largest prison, I think, in the Western Hemisphere. I'm leftist, but I think his crime reforms are good. Like the Salvadoran situation is different from America. Sometimes harsh measures are needed. It's a client state in the literal sense of the word client. Pakistan does whatever it wants because it buys a shit ton of hardware from the US. Yeah, it's like that. The thing is, like, I think the Imran Khan situation, as far as I understand it, is like quite literally related to him not being lockstep with U.S. interests all the time, even if it was like aesthetically not lockstep with U.S. interests. Like that was enough for America to write him off, if that makes sense. Bukele and Milei retweet every single positive mention they get on Twitter like they're Detroit rappers. That's awesome. What is this? Why Nayib Bukele's re-election matters? From friend of the show, Bianca Graulau. Nayib Bukele accomplished what presidents before him couldn't. He broke the gangs that used to control El Salvador, but how? And who's paying for the consequences? This video was done in collaboration with El Faro. Bianca, I would like to know who is funding you. Based on what you're trying to do in this video, I can probably guess who is funding your videos. I've seen people die in the neighborhood, bus drivers who were arrived by mistake and disappeared. As a Salvadoran resident of the capital, I can tell you that gang members are collaborators. People will see that the whole thing is inhumane as fuck in like 10 years. I think there are some nuances with respect to massive arms deals for fighter jets and other weapons from China and Imran Khan denying anything happening to the Uyghurs in Xinjiang. No, I don't. No, that's ridiculous. You want to know why that's ridiculous? The entire Arab world denies that anything happened to the fucking Uyghurs in Xinjiang, mostly for the exact same reasons as to why that Imran Khan did. So we are not treating any other fucking Arab leader in the same way that we're treating Imran Khan. And also, nobody gives a shit. Like, America does not actually care about Muslim safety. Like, let's be real. I think it's more so that, like, because even at a time when, what was it, like the League of Arab Nations or whatever the fuck it's called, like their position on the Uyghur situation in Xinjiang is that nothing was going on there as well. And at the time, I remember yelling at chatters who would bring that up to me because they were like, Hassan, you say that there's like a cultural genocide happening to the Uyghurs in Xinjiang, but you know, the Arab leadership in Arab nations don't believe that. They disagree with it. And I would literally argue with them that like their sentiment on this does not fucking matter because they are not going to be reflective of, one, the reality on the ground, and two, they're not going to be even reflective of like the Muslim world in general. Their opinion oftentimes is a political one. Their goal or their statements are guided by their own personal interest and like maintaining a relationship with China, for example, a positive one. So, Xinjiang, I know, Türkçesi Xinjiang. Imran's opposition, even to the army, was very marginal, having more civilian control over higher up army appointments and not even trying to actually break the monopoly of army in Pakistan. Yeah. Come to Xinjiang. It's open to tourism. Yeah, dude. Why did America not clap Modi like they clapped Imran Khan? Modi is way more pro-Putin. I think, well, one, it's India. I'd focus more on the massive arms deal with China, which Arab states in the MENA region have tried and have been massively opposed by the U.S. and thus not subsequently gone through. In Pakistan, the opposite happened despite major pressure. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the major reasons. That's what I mean. Yeah, you're right on this. I think that definitely is a bigger focus here. America does not like it when you do arms deals with foreign adversaries like China or like Russia. Okay? There is perhaps no better example of this than Turkey getting missile defense systems from Russia. For example, America does not like that. Okay? You are not allowed. That is not a thing that you can do. Also, I think our allegiance with India is that like India is the Western-backed liberal capital's equivalent of China in the most reductive terms. Imran Khan was not truly anti-American in the way he presented himself. He was just not compliant enough, and America just gave their blessings for a soft coup that was probably going to happen anyway. Imran Khan was already running afoul of the military due to internal reasons as well. Yeah, that's why I'm saying like it was for nothing for the most part. Like, that's what I was trying to stress in this circumstance. As far as like what I've read from the Intercept reporting on the matter, like the reasons as to why Imran Khan was quickly on pack watch, I guess, is very marginal. Like it's more aesthetic even, because like Imran Khan going to Russia and meeting up with Vladimir Putin, like these are all things that, depending on where you are on the ally list, okay, on the client state list, depending on like your level of importance, you can get away with. Erdogan did similar shit and is still doing similar shit. You know what I mean? So, or even Modi has like obviously Modi has utilized the invasion of Ukraine to benefit and be like a third party mediator for Russian gas, right? Like it's basically become a third party facilitator of that kind of thing. So, all of that is seen as permissible depending on like the give and take. India has a much stronger institutions, which makes it more difficult to actually stir shit up in China. Is seen as opposition to Chinese influence in Indochina. Exactly. That I think is another big reason for India, of course. So yeah, was Packwatch a pun? Oh my god, I didn't even think about that. It is a bit of a pun. I didn't even do that on purpose. As for India, Modi is still walking a tightrope between Russia and India because of their longstanding alliance with the USSR, but he's more amenable to the US than previous administrations. Yeah. I think Modi rides for the US. Am I crazy? Arun, does Modi not ride for the US interests like crazy? Yeah, he's a big time he is big time backed by Western interests in general. Modi rides for money. Yeah, but like they're anti-China. This you? What do you mean? Indian alliance with the USSR is pretty old, so US has made a bunch of exceptions for India to collaborate with Russia and even Iran. India has no sanctions on it, even when we trade with Iran. He's still beholden to the relationship India has with Russia because India still gets a lot of stuff like hardware from Russia even today. This you? Yes, it is me. With the exception of Ukraine and buying Russian energy products and arms, which is a common position in the global south. Well, I focus more on the massive arms deal with China, which Arab states in the MENA region have tried and have been massively opposed to. Yeah. Anyway, I think it didn't take much to push for his ouster, is what I'm saying. But the point is this, okay? What is happening in Pakistan happens at a foreign adversary, like a no-no nation, a nation that is not a client state, for example. America goes nutty mode. They literally write articles about how democracy is stolen. Okay? If there is a coup, a soft coup or a hard coup in a not perfectly aligned nation state that is being led by someone who is like a social democrat or something, specifically in Latin America, America will go, finally, the people are rising up and taking over in the most democratic way possible. Even if like you see videos of the coup that is occurring and you're like, well, these guys are like Christian fascists. The fuck do you mean? They'll be like, no, you don't understand. It's actually for good. Bolivia is a great example that comes to mind. So it is more so about what you read in the news when it comes to foreign policy, and what really is like frustrating for a lot of people that listen to what I have to say about foreign policy in general is that the reason why I almost always take the America bad position, or I land on that side on many instances, is because America has its fingers in every pie. Okay? That's what happens when you are the hegemonic superpower. Okay? And when the New York Times or other organs of State Department propaganda in the United States that otherwise do a lot of great coverage, okay, when they write things with objective, neutral tone, that's not always going to be exactly the way things are on the ground. If you take that in and you don't filter it through the lens of what kind of propaganda am I reading right now, what are the interests at play here in the way that I am, in the way that I'm being presented the story, you will fall for this very common trick that America plays all the time. Right-wing reactionaries don't need to do that. So if you're on Fox News, they're just easily going to be like, yeah, these guys are brown. They deserve death. Let's go. Right? But if you're a liberal, you have to have a more nuanced perspective to the reactionary American foreign policy. And that nuance usually comes from, well, these guys are homophobic. They're anti-LGBT. They are racist. They are, they don't want the liberalization of markets. Like, they're very repressive. They're very authoritarian. And all this stuff. That is like usually, there needs to be like additional motivating factors as to why America has to involve itself. Even though when you look at the actual circumstances in which we involve ourselves there, oftentimes the material interest that is backing our side, our position, is a very authoritarian one. Historically, we have seen examples of this all over Latin America, all over the world, as a matter of fact. Okay? You know what I mean? And that's what they do. Been doing this in fucking Japan. I mean, anyway. Also, this didn't get coverage even in Pakistan, but there was a bomb blast in Balochistan. I'm going to say it wrong again. Balochistan. Just of the elections, at least 30 plus people were killed, and it's another attempt by the Pakistani state establishment to oppress Baloch population well ahead of the elections. Butchered. Yes, America bad, but keeping it 100p. If there's got to be a hegemon, it might as well be us. Yeah, dude. Yes, your position, unfortunately, in my opinion, lacks nuance and is understandably selfish. Does that make sense? Like, a lot of people feel the way that you do, which is why they have an immediate reactionary distaste to the kind of coverage that I offer when it comes to foreign policy. I do not place a different, I don't place a different level of value to people living in like foreign nations that are people living in foreign nations. That's usually where I deviate from a lot of people. You know, it's very selfish for people to think that way, and I can describe why. I can describe why that selfishness is the exact same modus operandi of capital owners that end up reinforcing the position that you're in that actually fucks you over. Okay? Imperialism being the highest stage of capitalism, highest state of capitalism, imperialism being a necessity under a capitalist organization of the economy, can very in almost identical ways work as an analog for your experiences domestically. The approach that you have as a part of the Western world and the imperial core to America being the leader, the dominant force on the planet, and not really caring about like what happens to all of those in the periphery in the third world under unequal exchange that we benefit from in the imperial core, is the exact same approach that many rich people have to, you know, how the country is run. Why should I care about healthcare? I got money. I can pay for it. I can pay for it. So what if some poor people can't? That means I can still get the best possible healthcare for myself, you know? When it comes to foreign policy, a lot of people can be a little bit more selfish because the media will feed into your selfish perspective regularly by giving you, by drip feeding you information that helps you feel more reinforced in your position that like America has to be the dominant force. They'll also fearmonger to a ridiculous degree. Anyway, isn't this the trust fund baby champagne socialist guy? Hell yeah. That is me. Islamist fundamentalist, trust fund baby, champagne socialist. Oligarch. An oligarch myself. Anyway, I love champagne socialist so much. Yeah, champagne socialism is like a fun little thing. Yeah. Private jet flying. I use my private jet probably more than Taylor Swift does, if we're being real. I'm in the top 30. I'm also a tanky too. I'm a jihadist communist backed by the Chinese government and the Iranian government, pushing for Hamas to do Sharia law here in the United States of America, baby. Richer than Jeff Bezos, an oligarch in his own right, Islamist fundamentalist. I'm everything and nothing at the same time. I'm all the bad things. Whatever you think is bad, I'm on it. That's my thing. Woo! I'm genuinely asking, but what does the media have to gain by fearmonger all the time? What do you mean? The media's entire role in society is to normalize the cruelty that you experience. That's what they do. And also tell you that an alternative is far too scary and would be far worse. That is the job. That's the primary responsibility of the media. Unsubscribed. I simp for my wife. Don't do it. I'm here to tell you that these right-wing weirdos I'll follow and try to sometimes engage have now started hating on Noam Chomsky. They found out who Noam Chomsky is, so now they hate him. I simp for your wife too, chatter. Don't do it. I can't believe we lost another wife guy, dude. Wife guys are the best. They're the best and brightest. They are the best this country has to offer. Anyway, let's continue.
The election as well as on election day. We also believe that these kinds of actions have affected a number of political parties across Pakistan. And we're also concerned about the steps that were taken to restrict freedom of expression, specifically around internet and cell phone use. But again, I'm just not going to
just real quick,
speculate on results or government makeup.
But let's say the Pakistani people do elect a majority of independents associated with the PTI, but then after a bunch of backroom negotiations, which are accompanied by reports of torture, all of a sudden there's another candidate that has a majority. Would that be okay with the United States?
I'm not gonna
You can't say that wouldn't be okay with the United States.
I'm not gonna hypothesize on a made-up situation that you're just describing right now. We will, at some point, I have no doubt that the United States of America will comment on the official election results when they happen. But till then, we will defer to the electoral process, which we believe we take very seriously.
I do need to get a haircut. It's like getting out of control. It's getting way out of control. Especially because like yesterday I hate it. Could we get a free sub for 1 million channel points? No. Ryan Grimm's entire job is to ask these people questions and they'll say I won't answer that too. Yeah, but he does such a good job. I love that they still keep having people like Ryan Grimm in that room though. Like almost every one of those journalists that is in the State Department room, like obviously the outside of the ones that like don't even need to be in that room because they're just like copy pasting whatever the fuck the State Department is saying. But those guys that are in that room, they do a lot of good work, in my opinion, including Ryan Grimm, friend of the show, Ryan. I'm amazed they haven't found some way to kick him out. No, there's more than Ryan Grimm. There's a lot of people that are in that room that do like pretty solid reporting. Of all the friends of the show, people you mentioned, Ryan is definitely the friendliest. Anyway, what is this? Have you seen this about Biden? He did not remember when he was in his interview with our office. Mr. Biden's memory was worse. He did not remember when he was vice president. Forgetting on the first day of the interview when his term ended. If it was 2013, when did I stop being vice president? And forgetting the second day of the interview when his term began in 2009. Am I still vice president? He did not remember even within several years when his son Bo died, and his memory appeared hazy when describing Afghanistan. The puppet theory was real all along. I'm going to be sick. I just want a president I can analyze as an actual historical actor. Is this really too much to ask? It's going to be 2029, and the most recent president to have actually been in charge will still have been Obama. Tears in my eyes. The report on Biden's handling of classified documents predicts that a jury wouldn't convict him because it would find him a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Oh, wait, what? I've never been more vindicated in my entire life. Oh my fucking God. Oh my God. Where are the libtards now? Where are the liberals now? I am so goddamn vindicated. Oh my God. Hassan, there's a massive crime wave. Why are you pro-crime? Vindicated. Turns out everybody was fucking lying about it, just like I said. Hassan, there's a massive problem with immigration. How do we deal with immigration? Vindicated. Okay? Hassan, I can't believe you're saying Joseph Robinette Brandon is demented, okay? Turns out he is so goddamn demented that a fucking jury saw that too. Special counsel Robert Hur says that there's evidence President Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified materials, but he will not be charged. We also have considered that at trial, Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury as he did during our interview of him as a sympathetic, well-meaning, elderly man with a poor memory, it said. Based on our direct interactions with our observations of him, he is someone whom many jurors will want to identify reasonable doubt. It would be difficult to convince a jury that they should convict him, by then a former president well into his 80s, of a serious felony that requires a mental state of willfulness. Oh my God, dude. They said he's literally too old to do crime. Remember what I've talked about before with like old people? There's like a certain age that if you're above that and you do a crime, you should be able to get away with it because it's like a baby doing a crime. This is Joe Biden. Joe Biden is literally at that stage in his life. Okay? Straight up. It's babies and it's old people. When you get to that certain point and you have the mechanical skills of a baby and your brain is like withered away, that you are like a baby with a baby brain, okay? Joe Biden is literally at that stage in his life. Oh my God. It's so sick. It's so fucking sick. Remember when Trump said women camera TV as a flex? It literally was. You know Hutch in his stream room cooking the worst meal you ever seen right now? What? How does that not legally disqualify you from being the president? I think, look, the most charitable interpretation of this special counsel report is that Biden is playing it up for a jury. That's what liberals will probably say. But god damn, dude, this is going to be such a fucking Fox News is going to literally Steve Ducey is going to take his cock out and fuck the paper that this 345 page Justice Department finding, okay? Brian Kilmeade is going to be like, let me fuck it after you, Steve Ducey. They're literally going to go nutty mode on it. Jesse Waters has already locked himself into a hyperbaric chamber, jerking off, masturbating piece by piece. Every single one of them has paper cuts on their penises, okay? Holy moly. Oh my God. I can't wait to see what the Fox 5 have to say about this, dude. They are going to ritualistically execute that one liberal that sits on the liberal chair, Jessica Tarlov or whatever. They're going to be like, Jessica, line up. And then they're all going to fucking sever her head like it's an ISIS decapitation video with the paper that they got from the Justice Department. Jesus Christ. Yeah. The person on the cuck chair today at Fox 5 is not going to have a good time, okay? It's bukkake time. I hope it's Geraldo that sits there today. If Trump takes a turn towards senility soon, do you think he's just picking up Biden strats? I like that we are. By the way, decapitations are actually very in right now, especially for MAGA. Like ISIS kind of fell off on the decapitation front. You rarely ever see like a decapitation from ISIS, but now the MAGA boys have picked up picked up where the ISIS boys left off. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, we love decapitation. So who knows? How much do you think the story will come up during the election year? The Biden broken brain problem? Well, considering that it's Joseph Robinette Biden's number one issue, this is literally like the Republicans' abortion issue. You know what I mean? Democrats have one issue that they can always hammer on this election cycle and possibly in perpetuity. That issue is abortion. Republicans cut off access to abortion. They will always hit that vein every single time. For the Republicans, they can always say, Biden is senile, Biden is senile, Biden is fucking dumb, Biden is stupid. And it's true. How long until the liberals start saying, wow, you must be one, Vladimir Putin backed, and two, backed by the MAGA party, because you are also saying that Biden is senile, by the way. How much you want to bet that is what's going to happen? All right. This report is insane. This report is actually insane. Let's go to CNN to see how they're covering. Let's go to Fox News to see how they're. Let's go to CNN first. I have to see what they're saying about this.
Clear, and this report is clear. It is not the same legally what Biden did compared to what Trump did. Trump, repeatedly given the chance to cooperate in his investigation, did not. That is not what happened with Biden. But there's another part here, which is, does this politically invalidate that case? And that...
God, Republicans are so good at like showing liberal hypocrisy. They're going to eat this up. Okay? Brother, if he willfully retained classified documents, okay, and then he gave it up when the investigators were like, let's get your documents. What's happening? Are there any classified documents here? Yes, he's like one step above Donald Trump, who very stupidly decided not to do that for some weird reason, which I still do not understand. But
I mean, there are more than just 6 or 7 different examples of him not remembering. And just to this week, as Sean's point was, you know, he's not doing a Super Bowl interview. He's not giving press conferences. The former president sat in front of the cameras today and gave an entire news conference on what he thinks the Supreme Court decision is going to mean for him. And we haven't heard from Joe Biden in quite some time. So it's hard to make for the country to believe the argument that he's sharp as a tack. And when you read this and you hear some of the current statements and the absolute fact that he's not going to go before the country and answer a few questions from CBS, which is not going to exactly throw him Nolan Ryan curveballs.
Well, a lot to unpack there. I'm glad you're only referencing 6 or 7 paragraphs out of 300 plus pages. So I would give him a pretty good grade for that. Let me just be clear. I care about what he's done as president legislatively, and I care what he's done from a foreign policy perspective. I'm glad we passed the money for the Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel today. I hope the House does their job. We passed infrastructure bill, bipartisan. President Trump was talking about infrastructure week for 4 straight years and never passed it. I think we should spend time on looking at our successes, okay, as opposed to when he, slipped on a bit of a confusion on a 45-minute speech when everyone does that. I'm not going to get into whatsaboutism, but we all know what I'm talking about.
Okay, Katie Pavlich, to you, because it just seems to me like there is mounting evidence that maybe some people, when they have these polls that show, 23% of the voters think that he has the ability to become president or be president again because of his mental acuity.
Well, Trace, you mentioned the lack of access to the president. So on Tuesday, he said that he was going to talk to reporters today, Thursday afternoon, that he would answer their questions. Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, had to walk that back. Let's not forget the White House and members of the Judiciary Committee leadership on Capitol Hill have had this report for probably a couple of days now, at least 24 hours. So they probably knew this was coming. Now President Joe Biden will land back on the South Lawn, and he will be shouted questions from reporters instead of answering them from the podium in the briefing room, for example. So they're not allowing the American people to get answers on the issues that he supposedly wants to talk about outside of this report. And it also goes back to the issues that he's been facing over the past 3 years with the scandals that have been piling up, including his partnership and affiliation with Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden stayed in the Wilmington, Delaware house during COVID. That's where he was in lockdown. He had access to that garage. There's photos of him driving the Corvette with the boxes in the background with people, strangers in the car who don't have background checks, who don't have security clearances. So this opens up a whole another issue for the White House, and they've tried to avoid talking about that. And there's big questions about why he wanted to keep the classified information. What was the purpose of that, especially given that Hunter Biden had so much access to it, and he was working with people around the world who do not like the United States of America and do not have the best interests of this country in mind. It seems like he should be more responsible as president than that.
Katie makes a good point. I mean, his son had a substance abuse problem, had access to that house, had access to the garage. Sean Duffy, to you, we've got to go, but I want to get your
I'm not going to lie. This is like way chiller than I thought. I thought they would be going dicko mode. I thought they'd be going sicko mode and dicko mode at the same time. It feels like CNN is going harder than fucking Fox News.
It's not pretty in the Department of Justice either. But the considerations as to why you're going to encase that sausage are all about how you can prove your case. And cooperation goes a very long way. Why? Not because it's a way of sort of kissing up, but because it undermines before a jury the notion that somebody is intentionally engaged in behavior that was nefarious and criminal. Now, the fact that there was...
They're going to say, like, look, my assessment of this is that liberals will say, like, the defense of this will be that, oh, they're not saying he's senile. They're saying he's well-intentioned and he comes across as like a kind, loving old man. And that's the reason why there would be reasonable doubt, right? And it's actually Republican framing and Republican propaganda to like claim senility. Okay? That's what I would say. If I'm a liberal, DNC backed, if I'm a DNC PR person, I'm turning around, one, getting mad at every single person even bringing this up, because it's like, it's very obvious to me that you guys are, it's 9 o'clock Kremlin time, it seems. What happened? Did the Tucker Carlson interview not satisfy your needs for Vladimir Putin's cock? And then I'm turning around and saying, that it's not actually that he's senile. He just like reads as that in a courtroom. And that's enough of a legal standard for reasonable doubt.
In. Well, the special counsel examined that proposition and thought that was the strongest case to make for a prosecution. But because of the manner in which the documents were kept The appearances that it was among a number of household different items and beyond suggest that it was not intended to be kept secret and sacrosanct as the way it should have been, or trying to divulge to somebody else. And that factored into all of this. We compare this most directly with the images we've seen from the Mar-a-Lago case, the positioning of the documents, the accessibility to people from the Mar-a-Lago resort and beyond. And while I hesitate to compare these two cases directly, how can one help but do so in this instance? But these are divergent for this very reason. One stepped on a rake, the other cooperated.
Very good point. Laura Coates, thank you so much. If you could stand by for us, we're going to get in a quick break as we follow this breaking news.
God damn, dude. God damn. Why can't they just leave some of the Kennedy files sitting out? Well, Trump put his documents on a stage. Yeah, so obviously the differences between like Trump and Biden is that, yes, Donald Trump refused after they found out that he still retained classified documents. That's the major difference here, is that once the federal government came and was like, you have these documents, we want them, Trump was like, sure, I'll give them to you, and then didn't, right? And lied and actively obstructed justice and actively obstructed the investigation. So Trump is still comically guilty in this situation. Biden, on the other hand, immediately was like, go ahead, take all the documents. I don't give a shit, right? Like, he opened up all of the doors and allowed the investigators to go in and take all the documents and make an assessment. Same with Mike Pence. So the major difference there is that he's not, he cooperated with the government and you know, and gave up all of the documents that he had, because it's supposed to be like a lighter, criminal punishment, if any criminal punishment is given at all. So Mike Pence and Joe Biden cooperated, Trump didn't. That's the major difference here. But I think that what is more important in this situation, what they found, is that he did actually retain classified documents, right? Which there was suspicion of, for sure. However, no charges will be given to Joe Biden, which comes across to a lot of dummies as though there is like a two-tier justice system, right? Like, oh, I can't believe that there's no charges. But worst of all, not only are there no charges, part of the reasoning for why there are no charges is because they claim that Joe Biden, while looking careless, would come across as too senile and too well-intentioned to a jury where there would be too much reasonable doubt. It's the worst of all worlds. The best of all worlds would be Biden is actually mentally cognizant, mentally coherent, but also he didn't have any classified materials, right? No charges because this is just what you do when you discover classified documents, or just saying that like, or just saying specifically that like, yes, of course, no charges because like he didn't know that he had it, right? And same with Mike Pence. If they found classified documents in Mike Pence's hands, they're not going to fucking convict him either because he cooperated. Whereas with Trump, the major problem is they were like, hey, you have classified documents, we want them back. Trump was like, sure. First he was like, no. Then he was like, sure. And then he just like retained some of those documents and refused to give them back. For what reason? I do not know. I suspect it was because he's a hoarder and he wanted to like flex to Kid Rock. As I said, even back then, right? Which is pretty funny and really stupid. It's not like Trump did not cooperate once. It was like literally 3 times. Exactly. So the major problem here, a Ugopnik raid. Thank you, Ugopnik, for the raid. Hope you had a good stream, brother. Hope you're enjoying your time on the platform. Unofficial Ugopnik raid because he raided the wrong person. That's so funny. Hugo raided Hasanabi. That's funny. Anyway, but shit's heating up, folks.
Why? And then not even as if he had it in his home, it was in a gun safe or something.
I gotta pee.
No, it was lying, what was it, lying next to the wiffle ball that Hunter plays with? I mean, my goodness, the guy's 50 going on 10 as it is.
Yeah. Pat Fallon, Congressman, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Trace. God bless.
Well, in a new statement from President Biden, the special counsel released today its findings about its look into my handling of classified documents. I was pleased to see they reached the conclusion I believed all along they would reach, that there would be no charges brought in this case, and the matter is now closed. Okay, let's bring in our panel. Andy McCarthy, former federal prosecutor, Saul Weisenberg, former deputy independent counsel, and Mark Thiessen, American Enterprise Institute senior fellow. All are Fox News contributors. Andy, I think we should start with you again because we started with you the last time. You've kind of heard this conversation going on now for the past 45, 50 minutes. What do you make? Have you changed your assessment of anything on these classified documents, charges not being filed, and the release of, quite frankly, a ton of embarrassing information?
Yeah, well, I guess my first impression was that, this is supposed to be about whether there's enough evidence to indict. And as you read the report, I can't help but say it sure looks like there's enough here to invoke the 25th Amendment. And I know that's not what he's looking at, what his purpose is. But, his fitness for office is a major issue here. Second thing, we've mentioned this a number of times, Trace. One of the reasons, it seems like one of the core reasons that he didn't indict is because he decided, and he says this himself, a jury would find him to be a sympathetic defendant because of his, he's a gracious enough guy, but, he's forgetful, et cetera. If you're at the point of saying what a jury would assess, what that means is you've drawn the conclusion that there is enough evidence to indict the person and enough evidence perhaps to let the jury decide the case. Yeah. And what you're now down to is
now they're trying to figure out if they should go with there's a double standard in the criminal justice. Is there a double standard in criminal justice, or is Biden so senile that like a jury would find him to be senile? Why not both?
Is not willfulness. It's gross negligence. So yeah. I really don't understand how the fumbling, bumbling aspect of all this helps him, because if the jury even merely believed that he was grossly negligent, that would be enough to convict.
Yeah, it's a good pivot to you, Saul Weisenberg, because, Andy brings up a very good point is they're projecting, saying, listen, this is what a jury would do. It kind of reminds me of the James Comey speech when it came out for Hillary Clinton's documents, saying, well, she made some bad decisions, but, just projecting of what would happen had this thing gone to trial. Nobody knows what's going to happen had this gone to trial. And if there is enough evidence for you to consider that this might go to trial, maybe there's an argument that it should go to trial.
Well, first of all, there's absolutely no truth to the rumor that this report was ghostwritten by Gavin Newsom and his future campaign manager. I just want to put that rumor to rest. That's number one.
They're having less fun with this than I thought they would be.
Has 91 felony charges pending against him. Some of them also involve classified documents in a completely different fact pattern, right? Biden can claim, I was investigated by an independent counsel and I was cleared. A lot of cheap shots like you're looking at have nothing to do with the law, but I was cleared. Now, maybe Mr. Trump will be cleared, but he's been indicted, though. Biden was not even charged. Mr. Trump will have a right to defend himself in court. Maybe he's pristinely innocent, but he's looking at 91 felony charges. Joe Biden's looking at 0.
Paul, when we look at the classified documents case that Donald Trump is facing,
it's kind of funny. I feel like they're overwhelmed with. It almost feels like Fox News is like overwhelmed with what they want to hit. Like what angle, what avenue of attack. They have too many. They're overstimulated. They're stimming. Okay. They're getting hit with too many fun options. And they can't figure out exactly which angle to use here. The 5 will focus up. We'll see. I don't know.
I mean, I think the argument that everybody does it.
They're fumbling a bad bitch. Kind of.
Cases. I'm not sure how effective it is. The prosecution will have to then make the argument that no, in fact, some people do have classified documents that travel with them when they leave office. Okay. What do they do when
Oh my God. Dude, if I'm a Republican, I'm just cutting all of this footage and matching it up with literally everything that they've said about how devastating it is for Donald Trump to maintain classified documents. Okay, I'm gonna be like, oh, so you don't give a shit when it's Biden to showcase hypocrisy, right? Which, by the way, Fox is obviously insanely hypocritical. Fox is oftentimes conservatives are so hypocritical that they literally will be hypocritical and inconsistent in the same breath. Like they'll be like, as I've talked about before, Trump will be like, I should be able to have classified documents, and therefore this is a mockery of a trial. However, Biden, who's currently president, should not be able to have classified documents, and that's why he should be killed by the state. And it's like, okay, so which is it? Is there a consistent legal principle here? Or is the consistency that only you get to do crimes and they don't? At least for these guys, like, they separate the two. They don't like put it in the same coverage. They're not like Trump has legal documents and should be killed, while also Biden has legal documents and he should not be, or classified documents and he should not be.
And if this feeds into that narrative, and it does, then it's really problematic. And that's where the Biden people, I'm sure, are really worried and quite upset.
But yeah, I mean, look, I brought this up.
He's got a show.
I brought this up when the document saga was first popping off, where I told you, like, this is something that a lot of presidents do, and that it is like reasonable for someone to like bring classified documents. But what is not reasonable is when the federal government asks for said documents back and you just refuse to give them back to the government. Okay? That's the area where it is not reasonable. And that's precisely what's going on. That's the major difference here between the Biden case and, I guess, the Trump case. Threat, and not just the Biden case, but also the Mike Pence case. Like, nobody's talking about Michael Pence. Why is nobody talking about Michael Pence? What if I stash those documents in like a storage unit outside of a town or a guest bathroom? Anyway, what happened to Michael Pence? Well, what happened to Michael Pence is the exact same thing that happened to Joe Biden. They got hit with the top of the hour ad break, and they did not have a subscription to the Hasanabi broadcast. And they were like, oh man, now I got to sit through 3 minutes of ads. And to that I say, no more. You do not have to sit idly by and watch 3 minutes of ads at the top of the hour. You can avoid those ads by subscribing for $5 or for free with Twitch Prime, by connecting your Amazon Prime to your Twitch account, or by getting gifted a sub. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. He said, bruh, I'm trying to learn. Okay, no, Mike Pence was under the same scrutiny and had that same exact investigation that Joe Brandon went under at the same time, as a matter of fact. For classified documents, and they went to his house as well, and they retrieved a bunch of documents. I don't know if they actually found any classified documents, but you know, that is the same exact thing that happened with Joe Biden. So yeah, I use my Amazon Prime subscription. It feels like I'm using a stolen classified document. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Anyway, her writes that Biden's practices present serious risks to national security, and that Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified materials after his vice presidency. Her writes, because the box was damaged and not able to properly package classified material, the agents transferred its contents to a new box for transport. The photographs below show the contents of the garage box in the original box and the new box. The Facts First folder contained over 200 pages of documents related from the fall of 2009 Afghanistan policy review with a date range approximately August through October 2009. Her writes that Biden did not remember when he was vice president, forgetting on the first day of the interview when his term ended. He did not remember even within several years when his son Beau died. In an added letter at the end of the report, Biden lawyer Bob Bauer and special counsel Richard Sauber wrote, "We do not believe that the report's treatment of President Biden's memory is accurate or appropriate. The report uses highly prejudicial language. Excuse me, you are now looking a gift horse in the mouth and saying, I don't like the teeth. Okay? That's crazy. These motherfuckers are like, hey, we got away with this. We got away with retaining classified documents, and this is part of the reason why this was brought forward as like a reason as to why we shouldn't even prosecute. We shouldn't even like bring forward charges, because like juries will look at us like we're fucking assholes Okay. Meanwhile, well, that's one of the reasons why they didn't even fucking press charges. Big homie's saying that's a fucked up way. So what do you want? You want the smoke or not? Do you want them to press charges then? That's crazy. Let's put both in jail, charge them with treason, and get Cornel West elected. I love that. It's a great idea, chatter. Look, I'm never going to fucking say don't arrest and prosecute former presidents or current presidents. I'm on board with that no matter what. I will be there no matter what, okay? I'm a fan. Do it. Do it, pussy. Don't threaten me with a good time. I'm there. Okay? I'm jank pilled. I'm based and jank pilled. Don't care. Still voting for jank. It's jankum. Anyway, Bauer letter continued. In fact, there is ample evidence from your interview that the president did well in answering your questions about the years-old events over the course of 5 hours. His interview began the day after the October 7 attacks. Oh, he was emotional after October 7. That's why he couldn't answer properly on when his son died. Your Honor, you don't understand. I was feeling emotional. Back to Her's report. Mr. Biden's memory was significantly limited, both during his recorded interviews with the ghostwriter in 2017 and his interview in our office in 2023. Okay? Holy moly. And his cooperation with our investigation, including by reporting to the government that the Afghanistan documents were in his Delaware garage, will likely convince some jurors that he made an innocent mistake, rather than acting willfully, that is, with the intent to break the law as the statute requires. I think that's also another big component here that we must not forget. And that is that there needs to be willful intent to retain classified documents, and that you can't chalk it up as a mistake, which, by the way, for the record, wait, so they concede he wasn't willful? No, he's saying that because they cooperated with the investigation and literally told the government that he had the Afghan documents in his Delaware garage, that he wasn't he didn't have willful intent to break the law. Like, if he obstructed justice deliberately, even like charges that you can hit him on with obstruction of justice, they're saying you can't really do that because he comes across as like too sympathetic of a criminal for a jury, because they'll say, oh, he's old and doesn't remember a lot of stuff. But in areas where he does remember, he took and retained classified documents, he's openly cooperating with the investigators to say, go ahead, take it. I have it in my house, in my Delaware house. I have these documents. Her writes, it would be difficult to convince a jury they should convict him, by then a former president who will be at least well into his 80s, of a serious felony that requires a mental state of willfulness. Third, as discussed to some extent above, Mr. Biden will likely present himself to the jury, as he did during his interview with our office, as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. While he is and must be accountable for his actions, he is, after all, the president of the United States. Based on our direct observations of him, Mr. Biden is someone for whom many jurors will want to search for reasonable doubt. It would be difficult to convince the jury they should convict him, by then a former president who will be at least well into his 80s, of a serious felony that requires a mental state of willfulness. His defense is basically, when he's lucid, he cooperates. And yes, when he's not lucid, it comes across as sympathetic to a jury, which will definitely find reasonable doubt. Because the point is, did he retain classified documents with malicious intent, knowing full well that he was in violation of the law? Or was he not doing that? And they're saying that this is not like an easy to prove case because of how old he is and because he also cooperated with the investigation. Law tip: this basically goes to the insanity defense, wherein a defendant may assert the defense if they did not appreciate the wrongfulness of their conduct due to their mental state. This report basically is saying that Biden was so demented that he literally didn't know he was doing crime. That person also has the nuclear codes, by the way. I don't think that they're saying that he was so demented. that he didn't know he was doing the crime. I think they're saying that he will come across as one who is so demented, or rather, he'll come across positive in the eyes of a jury. And considering that this isn't like a super high crime, I guess, like super severe crime, they're chalking it up as like he's an old guy, it'd be too hard to convict. Investigators would be extremely hard pressed to find any potential juror that doesn't have or didn't have to deal with elderly parents, grandparents. They wouldn't relate to Biden's defense. Anyway, I do kind of agree with this sentiment that it seems sort of out of place that the special counsel to be weighing on. Shouldn't they just ideally just lay out the facts objectively? Well, they also are not prosecuting someone that they caught who is in violation of the law to a certain degree. So they are writing out in their report what their assessment is, and this is a part of their assessment. If it's so obvious, if it is so obvious in their assessment that Biden has gaps in his memory through the interviews that they conducted with him, like very glaringly obvious gaps in his memory, which it seems like he did, not remembering his son's death, well, not his death, but like when he died, not remembering when he got out of office. These are severe lapses in memory that show, you know, serious decline in mental faculties that would absolutely be part of the reason why you wouldn't push for a case. Like you wouldn't push to take this to trial, despite the fact that there is at least enough evidence that he definitely did retain classified documents when he should not have. Special counsel Hur said Biden had diminished faculties and faulty memory in their interview. Given the intelligence the military officials present and the topics discussed at the meetings, Mr. Biden encounters Zwonitzer. Mr. Biden would have realized that his notes did or were likely to contain classified information, but taken as a whole, the evidence will likely leave jurors with reasonable doubts about whether Mr. Biden knew he was sharing classified information with Zwonitzer and intended to do so. For these jurors, Mr. Biden's apparent lapses and failures in February and April 2017 will likely appear consistent with the diminished faculties and faulty memory he showed in the Zwonitzer's interview recordings and in our interview of him. Therefore, we conclude that the evidence does not establish that Mr. Biden willfully disclosed national defense information to Zwonitzer. The passages Mr. Biden read to Zwonitzer on April 10th, 2017 contain information that remains classified up to the secret level. Do you understand? He retained and disclosed classified information to a third party that did not have security clearance, which is a clear violation of the law. But when you look at the intent side, in this circumstance, given that the interview that he was conducted had many instances where he literally had demonstrated genuine lapse of genuine gaps in his memory, they're claiming that he basically didn't know what he was fucking doing. Like he didn't know that it was classified information. He was too senile to recognize that the information that he was delivering to Zwonitzer was classified information. Because if he's not senile in that circumstance, he's willingly giving, he's having a Kid Rock moment. Okay, he's having a Trump Kid Rock moment in that circumstance where he's basically willingly giving up classified information to someone who does not have a top secret classification security clearance, top secret security clearance to be able to handle classified intelligence. Situation room meeting from the summer of 2015. Immediately before discussing the notebook entry, Mr. Biden discussed extremely personal notebook entries touching on the illness and death of his son, Beau, its effects on the family, and the wrenching decision about whether to run for president in 2016. After discussing these highly emotional topics, Mr. Biden turned immediately to the notebook entry from the summer of 2015 Situation Room meeting, which began on the very next page of the notebook, and read additional portions of the entry nearly verbatim, including the portions of the entry he read to Zwonitzer during the February 16th, 2017 meeting. The passages Mr. Biden read to Zwonitzer on April 10th, 2017 contain information that remains classified up to the secret level. The Afghanistan documents were ultimately found in Mr. Biden's Delaware home in a badly damaged box in the garage near a collapsed dog crate, a dog bed, a Zappos box, an empty bucket, a broken lamp wrapped with duct tape, potting soil, and synthetic firewood. Do you think they drop Biden? Fuck no. No, things will get increasingly more partisan going forward. Dude, they didn't drop Biden before. Why would they drop him now? No, we're stuck. We're riding with Biden whether we like it or not, folks. Anyway. Damn, Joe, you live like this? Exactly. I think Brandon is a perfect president for our time. He's an aging, decrepit man representing an aging, decrepit empire whose only reliable function is lashing out to desperately cling to fading glory through violence. Brandon is the representation of entropy. Yes. I work in the field. Special counsel is unique from other prosecutors. When regular prosecutors do not charge, they don't say why or detail anything. Special counsel is supposed to write these reports even if they don't charge. The cognition stuff is damning, and it makes sense, by the way. No charges. Federal criminal system is extremely rare to charge people older than 80. It is practically unheard of outside of mafia bosses. Oh, yeah. Well, obviously, the other reason why it's a special prosecutor or special counsel is because is obviously because like Brandon is currently the president. So if it wasn't a special counsel, if it was directly a DOJ person, right, then it's like a police internal affairs type beat. You know what I mean? It's like the guy who is basically the leader of the DOJ is investigating himself. So clearly, in that circumstance, there is a conflict of interest, even though there shouldn't be technically. And I don't even believe the fucking Brandon regime would do such a thing because they're too libbed up. Okay, they're too libbed up to do that. That's more Trumpian, in my opinion, than something that the Brandon regime would do. The Republicans would have made mincemeat of that and would have utilized that to be like, look at the double standard. Now that there is a special prosecutor, because it was a special prosecutor that detailed out in this report, but a special prosecutor nonetheless, they can't say it's improper, even though they will still say it regardless. But Hassan, why should anyone take you seriously when it comes to political content? Well, one, my name has one S in it, not two. And two, I don't know. I mean, you can make up your own mind, right? I think you're an adult. I assume that plenty of people are adults that are coherent, have all their mental faculties in order. You don't have to take me seriously when it comes to political content. My goal always is to hope that you make up your own mind after listening to what I have to say and see if I'm presenting a decent argument, and not be motivated by other people that you've watched prior with like clip chimps or clips completely out of context that present my opinions on matters in a false light. I think you're an adult. I think you are capable of sitting in here, listening to what I have to say, and make up your own mind rather than be like, well, my favorite content creator said he's bad. You know what I mean? And when I'm talking about this kind of stuff, I also mean like match it up against like actual reading of the news, for example, like, you know, reading of articles that I'm looking at, going to primary sources, instead of like matching it up with whatever some random shit stirrer is saying online. If that makes sense. You might not agree with me. There are plenty of people who don't. Okay. However, if you're asking like, why should we take you seriously? Well, I will always tell you what my position is. I will also tell you what I think, like where my biases are. So I think that's more honest in my opinion, because it's impossible to avoid biases when you're making interpretations of the news. And that's my assessment. I've watched you for years. So I don't know what you would assume I'm here because of other people's opinions. Well, because you came in with a very seasoned, I would dare I say emotional question that is like very loaded. And oftentimes it's people that are motivated in their reasoning that come in and ask questions like that. But yeah, that's it. Stop being paranoid. The clip chimp watches hours of your videos though. Stop being paranoid. Yeah, clip chimpers watch hours of footage so they can falsely claim that I have a position on an issue that is incredibly reductive. Anyway. And also part of the reason why I assume that is because you hit me with a Hassan with a double S when I have one S in my name. So one must ask themselves, why have you been in here watching for years if you don't think that my political analysis is worth anything, really? Like, don't you have better uses of your time? That's a good question, I think. Anyway, yeah, Hassan is Hassan hater standard English, like Mao is standard English, but for my haters. Matty Iglesias, Matt, this is fucking bullshit. You appoint a Republican special counsel to investigate. He investigates. The investigation does not reveal a crime. So instead of saying all good, he goes off and does partisan political hits. Now sit down, young folks, and I'll tell you how we got here. It all started when Bill Clinton walked across the tarmac. I don't like that he's saying that he's saying that you appointed a Republican special counsel to investigate. He investigates. His investigation does not reveal a crime. No, his investigation did reveal a crime, just not one that is like ready to be prosecuted on conditions that you do not want to repeat on here because it goes against your arguments that Brandon is actually totally, perfectly mentally cognizant and mentally coherent. So that's the reason why he's upset. Now, you can argue on the basis of whether or not the crimes that they're talking about are severe, right? Because they're not. But if you argue that the crimes that he's talking about are not severe, then you actually basically remove one element of the Trump classified document saga. That it's like not sufficiently severe enough crimes that Trump was engaging in on the document saga that he engaged in obstruction of justice over.
Actually have been doing for some time. The fact that they turned in these classified documents right away to the National Archives is something that they've talked about. The fact that they consented to the search of multiple locations, that he sat for a voluntary interview. He did that the weekend that the Israel war broke out. So this is the contrast that they are going to continue making. But of course, as we were talking about before, doesn't take away the political ammunition that this gives the president's critics and Republicans, including the former president.
All right, MJ Lee, let's talk about that now with CNN's Kristen Holmes, who covers President Trump, former President Trump in West Palm Beach, Florida. For us, and Kristen, Donald Trump has been given a gift of sorts in this special counsel report. The special counsel specifically noting President Biden's, quote, diminished faculties and faulty memory, unquote, and giving specific instances that are
Bro,
cringy.
CNN running this, like the way that they're running it, is unironically more actively damaging to Brandon than Fox News having fun with the report.
Standard of justice and how unfair it is that President Biden is not being indicted. Am I right?
And you guessed right.
Oh, okay.
You guessed right.
Yeah.
That is, you win the prize.
Yes.
So I do want to say something before I read this statement because I think it's really important. And that is that most of his supporters, if not all of his supporters, as well as people who are considering supporting him, will believe the statement that I am about to read. Now, there are inaccuracies in it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, and we'll go through some of those inaccuracies. But as you said, Jake, this was a political gift of sorts to Donald Trump. An ability for him to blur these two cases together, to be able to say it's a two-tier justice system, and all of that conversation around Biden's mental faculties, that is something that...
That's what I said. Yo, CNN's repeating what I'm saying. What the hell? I literally said, this is such a goddamn... I literally tweeted this, like, earlier. Not even a joke. The exact same thing that she just said. Absolutely worst double bind here, where they show that Biden willfully retained classified documents and comes across as too senile for a jury to convict him. The right will make mincemeat of this. They'll play up the double standard in courts and harp on how old Biden is. Which is true. They will do that.
Particularly when it comes to obstruction. We do know that Biden was much more cooperative and willing to turn over those documents than Donald Trump. And in fact, there had to be a subpoena to get those documents from Donald Trump. Plus, there have been reports of witness tampering that the special counsel is looking into to try and protect those documents and keep them with Donald Trump. Now, again, though, I cannot stress enough how politically this is going to play out, because it is something that is really going to be amplified by Trump and his team. They are going to blur the lines of these two cases to say that he should have also been charged.
The special counsel released their findings today about their look into my handling of classified documents. I was pleased to see they reached the conclusion I believed and knew all along they would. That there are no
that my mental faculties are not all right.
No charges should be brought in this case. As many of you know, this was an exhaustive investigation going back literally more than 40 years. 40 years when I became a United States Senator when I was a kid. I was a kid, 29 years old. Special counsel acknowledged I cooperated completely. I did not throw up any roadblocks. I sought no delays. In fact, I was so determined to give special counsel what they needed, I went forward with a 5-hour in-person interview over the 2 days of October the 9th, 8th and 9th last year, even though Israel had just been attacked by...
Bro, even though Israel had just been attacked, brother, what are you talking about? What is that? He's like, man, you don't understand. Okay. My heart bled. I was in an emotional moment for myself. Israel had been attacked. I forgot when Bo had died.
In fact, I was so determined to give special counsel what they needed, I went forward with a 5-hour in-person interview over...
By the way, the joke that he's saying he was a kid at the age of 29 is that he's old. That part I get. This is actually pretty coherent for Brandon. He's actually doing a good job. Got to hand it to him.
The 2 days of October the 9th, 8th and 9th last year, even though Israel had just been attacked by Hamas on the 7th. I was in the middle of handling an international crisis. First,
he got that good shit, dude. They gave him the good drugs today. This is his wakeful hour. They need to make debates during this time. You do not, in fact, have to hand it to him. What do I always say? I'm going to be honest. Okay? He got that good adrenochrome here, okay? Whatever kind of cocktail they had, it was hitting. He did a good job. I can't believe that the way that we are analyzing the leader of the free world, the most powerful person on the fucking planet, is like how well he presents himself, how mentally coherent he can present himself in 59-second increments, okay? That is insane. That is insane. Jesus Christ. Yeah, we're analyzing him like it's baby's first words. Oh, yeah. Bradley Moss, Esquire, says the current president has a poor memory. The former president has a poor memory, has been indicted 4 times, was found liable for sexual assault, oversees a company convicted of tax fraud, and unleashed a mob on January 6th. Give me the well-meaning elderly man. Dude, it's so Jover. This kind of shit basically shows me that like the Democratic Party can literally do everything that the Republican Party is doing, and liberals will still go, yeah, we're still voting for D. We're still voting D, baby. No matter what. That's it. I get it. Like they could literally be like, we are the Republican Party. We are adopting the Republican Party's agenda 100%. Okay. Not saying that they have, by the way. I don't think they have. But even if they did, there would still be plenty of people who are like, no, I'm voting blue no matter who, baby. It's team sports. I think the immigration stuff and like the Biden mishandling of the immigration on the messaging front, on the legislative front, is a perfect, clear demonstration that these guys don't care because they keep looking and going, well, the alternative is even worse. You know what I mean? The alternative is worse. On the issue of immigration, it doesn't matter if the alternative is worse. If the current guy that you voted so he doesn't do the alternative is literally doing the alternative is worse moment. Like, what do you mean? The distinction is not whether or not the person that has like incredibly restrictive, white nativist, inhumane, anti-immigrant policies has a D next to their name or an R next to their name. If that's the only distinction on that issue, then there is no distinction. I actually don't even know if that's true at this point. What do you mean? Oh, Robert Hur clearly decided to go down the Jim Comey path of filing his report absolving Biden of criminal activity with ad hominem attacks, like calling him an elderly man with poor memory, not remotely subtle, just a right-wing hit job from within Biden's own DOJ. Wild. Robert Hur's interviews with Biden were on October 8th and October 9th, days if not hours after the October 7th Hamas attack. If he seemed distracted, there's a pretty good reason why that doesn't require her to speculate on what conclusion a fictitious jury might have. Okay, then fucking file charges then? Like, what are they saying? This is a double bind for that reason. It's a double bind because then it's like, okay, well then he has enough to fucking file and actually go to court. Like he was actually perfectly mentally cognizant. And also, another part of his mental cognition is from 2017 when he revealed classified information to a interviewer who did not have top secret classification. Like, so what's up? It was in 2017, was there another Hamas attack? Like, what the fuck's going on? You can't make this argument. That's why I said it's like a perfect double bind. It's super cooked. Wait, what? Yes, part of their findings included retaining and revealing classified information to unauthorized individuals. And in the year 2017, according to this her report that we just read, okay, we read pieces of it at least on Twitter. Before people go, Hassan, you are reading Twitter threads. Yes, the Twitter threads are pieces of the actual report from literal journalists covering it. I can't believe I have to specify this too for all the fucking weirdos in here. Okay. That report found that in 2017, Biden also, in the 345-page Justice Department finding, that report said that Biden actually gave information, classified information, to a person without top secret security clearance. So what about then? Did he have poor memory back then? Well, that's what the report says. Special counsel Biden showed diminished faculties and faulty memory in both interview recordings with his ghostwriter and when they interviewed him, during which the report said he had gotten worse. Couldn't remember when he was vice president or when his son died. That's in the report.
Damn, this guy's good.